Hello, world, and thank you for listening to Master English with Tim, the podcast where I help you master English vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation in depth and detail and without ever hurrying. I am Tim, and in this week's episode, we will focus on 19 meanings of 10 words from the NGSL, or New General Service List. If you've been listening to Master English with Tim for a while, you know that the NGSL is a list of the 2,800 most used words of English. Learn these words for better scores on IELTS and TOEFL and for better understanding of formal, business, and academic English. I mentioned just a second ago that we would learn 19 meanings of these words today. That's very important because typically English words have more than one meaning, and if you want to know English well beyond B1 or B2 level, you need to know those additional meanings of the words. So our first word from the NGSL for this week is 1,866. Borrow. So 1,866, that means we're kind of getting a tiny bit close to the end of the list. So the word is 1,866, borrow, B-O-R-R-O-W, borrow. This word is a verb with two meanings. The first meaning is to take something from another person with their permission and with an intention to give it back later. So let's actually analyze all of that. So if you borrow something, this is the key here. The most important thing is if you borrow something, you take it from someone. People often confuse borrow and lend. If you lend something, you give it to someone who plans to give it back. If you borrow something, you take it. So when you borrow something, you take it from another person with their permission. So you don't steal it, you don't take it without asking, you just you take it and you ask the person. And you have a plan to give it back later, so you're not stealing it. So this meaning is a kind of intermediate or B1 function of this word borrow. So examples, 3 of them. 1, I borrow and read lots of books from the library. 2, yes, you can borrow my car this week, but please fill it with gas when you're done with it. 3rd and last, don't lend anything to Joe. He borrowed money from me and never paid me back. Okay, the second and last meaning of borrow is to use another person's words or ideas. So this meaning is more of a B2 or C1 meaning. 4 examples. 1, many languages have borrowed words from English, in particular words for computer technology. So if you borrow words from English, that means that you take them from English. For example, in Russian, there are a lot of words about computer technology, and they borrowed those words from English. That's actually probably true in several languages. In French, actually, they borrow fewer words. They try not to borrow words from English. They try to use their own words. Okay, number 2. This book on the French Revolution is informative and useful, but it borrows heavily from an earlier work by another author. So that borrows heavily from an earlier work, that means that it takes the ideas from the earlier work. It's not original, it's not new. They took these ideas from someone else. 3, it's not clear how many times the bow and arrow was invented independently by people who had no contact with each other, and how many times the invention was borrowed. So actually kind of an interesting fact. According to archaeologists, the first bows and arrows that they have found evidence of were from Africa from around 50,000 years ago. Actually, it could even be 60,000 years ago. I don't remember the exact date. The most important thing is that it took a long, long time for those bows and arrows to get to Europe. It was like 9,000 BC, so something like 40 or 50,000 years later. Who knows why it took that long? Then to get to Siberia, it was another couple thousand years, and then to get to the Americas, so North and South America, it was even longer. So it took many, many thousands of years, and it's not clear if the people who got these bows and arrows, if they invented it themselves or if they borrowed it from someone else. But the dates start at the earliest point in Africa, and then in Europe, and then in Siberia, and then in the Americas. So there is kind of a line of, that it looks like they were invented in one place, and then people borrowed the idea from each other or copied it. Okay, anyway, sorry for that little detour. 4th and last example. The Romans' gods were originally Greek. The Romans borrowed the Greek gods, Latinizing their names. So that's true also. The Roman gods, the Romans did not have their own gods. They just had Greek gods, and they gave them Latin names. They borrowed the Greek gods. Okay, our second NGSL word for this episode is 1867, fundamental. 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 Fundamental has one meaning, and it is an adjective. This word is arguably kind of a C1 level word. Its meaning is first and most important, and upon which everything is built. Some synonyms of fundamental are basic or primary. For examples, 1. The most fundamental skills learned in school are basic reading and math. 2. Freedom of speech and freedom of religion are fundamental rights. 3. There is a fundamental difference in my attitude towards other people and yours. I care about them and you don't. Fourth and last, your fundamental assumption that people would fight less if only they could communicate better is wrong. Actually, this one is kind of funny because I thought of this example because of a particular person. It was a Polish guy from the 1800s. His last name was Zamenhof. I forget what his first name was, but he was the man who invented the language Esperanto. When Zamenhof invented Esperanto, he had this idea to take different elements of European languages, the ones that were shared by as many languages as possible. So in Europe, basically, you have three very large language groups. You've got the Latin ones like French and Spanish and Italian and so on, and some smaller ones. You've got the Germanic ones like German and English and Swedish and so on, and you've got the Slavic ones, Russian and Polish and Ukrainian and Serbian and so on. So he tried to find words when he was making this new language. He tried to find words that were shared by all of them and use those as the basic vocabulary, the fundamental vocabulary of the language. And its idea was that if people could communicate with each other more easily, then they would fight less. And, well, I think we've seen in the last 15 or 20 years, that's not really true. If you can communicate with people more, it gives a possibility to argue with them. Now, it gives you a possibility to solve that argument, but, well, it does create a possibility of arguing. So his fundamental idea was probably wrong. And, of course, back then, English was not as popular as it is now. So, anyway, he seems like a nice guy in any case. He seems like he was a little bit naive, but a good fellow. In any case, our next word is 1868, dish. D-I-S-H. This one has two meanings as a noun. So the first meaning is a thin, usually circular object that you put food on and eat from. This is maybe a B1 or maybe even an A2 level meaning. 3 examples. 1. My roommate, Dan, almost never washes the dishes. 2. My parents have been eating from the same dishes since they got married. Third and last, there are two kinds of people, those who let their dog lick the dishes and those who don't. Okay, the second meaning of dish is similar to the first, but it refers to an object that is much bigger. The second meaning is an inwardly curved circular object that receives signals from a radio or satellite. I guess you could say this meaning is C1 because it's so specific. 3 examples. 1. Satellite dishes were first invented in the 1950s. 2. Satellite dishes used to be as big as a small house, but now they are only 30 centimeters wide. I think everybody's probably seen these really old satellite dishes that are absolutely ginormous. They're huge, and now, of course, they're only 20 or 30 centimeters across. Okay, third and last. There is a huge satellite dish in Puerto Rico that is used to detect radio signals from alien civilizations, and they haven't found anything yet. Even though it is a giant dish, they haven't found anything so far, or maybe they're just not telling us. In any case, our fourth NGSL word for this week is 1869, abroad. That's A-B-R-O-A-D, abroad. Abroad can be a preposition of location or of movement. Both of those meanings are B1 level. Let's start with the meaning as a preposition of location. In this case, abroad means located or happening outside of someone's home country. 3 examples. 1. Chris lives in Canada, but her 2 sisters live abroad in Asia. 2. Studying abroad is one of the fastest ways to learn a foreign language. Third and last, I want to live abroad, but only if my pay is comparable to what it is in my home country. So if you live abroad, do you live in your own country or in a different country? Answer, of course, is that if you live abroad, you live somewhere outside of your own country. The second meaning of abroad is as a preposition of movement. In this case, abroad means moving from within a country to outside its borders. 3 examples. 1. I'm tired of living in the U.S. Let's move abroad. 2. Justin's son moved abroad some years ago and has lived in 6 countries. Third and last, instead of doing the same beach vacation in North Carolina like we do every summer, why don't we go abroad this time? Okay, our 5th NGSL word is 1870, soul, S-O-U-L, soul. It has 2 meanings as a noun. First, it can refer to the part of a person that, according to some religions, continues living after the person dies. This is maybe a B2 level. 3 examples. 1. Christians and Muslims both believe in a soul that survives after the death of a person's physical body. 2. As I drove past the corner of Main and 6th Street, a guy standing there yelled at me that my soul was going to burn in hell forever if I didn't join his church. Based on a true story. Third and last, some religions say that non-human animals have a soul, while others do not. The second meaning of soul is the essential, unchanging characteristics of something that make it unique, special, and memorable. This meaning is more like C1 level. 3 examples. 1. Jazz is part of the soul of New Orleans. 2. This town is nothing but a bunch of factories and burger restaurants. It has no soul. Third and last. Okay, I'm not a skilled painter, but a lot of people have told me that my paintings have real soul. Alright, we are done with half of our NGSL words for the week. The 6th word out of 10 is 1861, capable. C-A-P-A-B-L-E. Capable. So inside the word capable, you can find the word able. So capable has 2 meanings as an adjective. The first meaning is used to say that someone or something can do many things. This meaning is C1 or so. 3 examples. 1. Junior is a very capable mechanic. He can fix any problem in any car. 2. Even though she's 70 years old, she's still very physically and mentally capable. If she's still very physically and mentally capable, that means she can do lots of things. She can run, she can swim, she can maybe lift some weights, she can read, she can have a good conversation with people, she can remember things. She's generally able to do lots of things. Third and last, Tom is a very capable person. He is good at writing, math, science, coding, and graphic design. The second meaning of capable is used to say that someone or something can do a certain thing, a specific thing. In this case, we say someone is capable of something. For example, capable of hard work, capable of working long hours, capable of speaking English. So you will note here that after of, you have the ing form of a verb. That is because of is a preposition, and if you have a verb after a preposition, then that verb will be in the ing form. Not an exception here. In fact, there are no exceptions to this rule. This is a very solid rule. 3 examples. This meaning is more like B2. Again, this is the specific ability. 1. Some birds are capable of using tools, for example, using sticks to catch insects. Did you know that? Did you know that some birds are capable of using tools? Not everybody knows that. I didn't know that until recently. 2. They only started practicing running recently, so they won't be capable of a marathon for a while. So if you're capable of a marathon, it means you can run a marathon. Third and last, yes, it's true that Laura sometimes joked about killing people she didn't like, but is she capable of murder? I don't think so. Okay, our next word is 1862, defeat. That's D-E-F-E-A-T, defeat. So far, the words in today's episode have had meanings that are all nouns or all verbs or all adjectives. That's actually a pretty unusual situation. And so defeat is more typical because defeat can be a verb, an adjective, or a noun. It has one meaning for each of these. So let's start with the verb meaning. This meaning is to win in a competition, especially war, against someone else. A synonym of this is to beat. 3 examples, and the level is B2. 1. Our basketball team easily defeats almost everyone that it plays against. 2. Alexander the Great of Macedonia and his men defeated armies in Egypt, Babylon, Persia, and India. By the way, normally we'd say Alexander the Great of Macedonia, but there's been a recent trend to say Macedonia because that is closer to the way actually they call that place in their own language. So anyway, third and last, I can easily defeat the final boss in this video game, but that's only because I watched a video about how to do it. So the next meaning of defeat uses the third form of the verb defeat. That third form is defeated, and defeated can be used as an adjective. If someone is defeated, they are sad and without belief that a situation can get better. Kind of like after a person has been defeated in a game. Except here, the game is more like the game of life. The level of this meaning is C1. 1. You look completely defeated. What's wrong? 2. I felt completely defeated after I lost my wife and my job. Third and last, you're only defeated if you believe you're defeated. Get up and fight. The final meaning of defeat is as a noun. It is the fact of having lost in a competition against someone else. So a synonym of this meaning is loss. L-O-S-S, loss, defeat. The level is B2. 3 examples. 1. We are all sad about our defeat in the tennis tournament. 2. Learning how to learn from and live with defeat is an important life skill. Third and last. Okay, so you just suffered a major defeat. What are you going to do next? So if you suffer a defeat, that means that you have a defeat. You experienced a defeat. So the next word is 1863, presidential. P-R-E-S-I-D-E-N-T-I-A-L. Presidential. 2 meanings as an adjective. The first one is pretty obvious. It is connected with the president. So that sounds pretty simple, but this is political vocabulary, and political vocabulary is part of a country's culture and political system. So some of the phrases that this meaning of presidential have a bit of a need for explaining. And for that reason, I'd give this a level of C1. Examples. 1. No, I don't eat popcorn while watching presidential debates. Do you? 2. Candidates start collecting money for the next presidential campaign almost as soon as an election is finished. So a presidential campaign is that period of time when people who want to become president are collecting money so that they can put advertisements on TV, and they put the advertisements on TV and explain why they should be president. That period of time and that attempt to become president from a particular candidate is a presidential campaign. So again, example, candidates start collecting money for the next presidential campaign almost as soon as an election is finished. That's true, and it's actually pretty sad. I mean, as soon as you win, you start trying to get money for more TV ads. Anyway, third and last, the United States is unique among English-speaking countries because it has a presidential system of government. Others, like Canada, have a parliamentary system. So in a presidential system, the population votes directly for the president, and in a parliamentary system, people vote for members of parliament, and the members of parliament decide who the head of state will be. So it's a more indirect system. So the second meaning of presidential is used to talk about actions or behaviors that are respectable and that a president should have, or that people consider a president should have. So this is honestly pretty advanced. It's kind of like C2 level, which doesn't mean, honestly, that it's hard to learn. 3 examples. 1, being calm and diplomatic are important parts of being presidential. 2, talking about how rich you are and how much women love you is definitely not presidential behavior. Third and last, the sad fact is that presidents aren't always as presidential as they used to be. Okay, our second to last word is 1864, perfectly. 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 It has two meanings, both as an adjective. The first is to the highest level of quality possible and without mistakes. Level is B1. 3 examples. 1. My car worked perfectly after my uncle repaired it. 2. He speaks French perfectly with a full vocabulary and without mistakes. Third and last. You explained it to me perfectly, but that doesn't mean I'll remember it. Now for a C1 level meaning of perfectly. This second meaning is completely, fully, or absolutely. Level C1. 3 examples. 1. Yes, I am perfectly aware of what is happening. If you're perfectly aware of what's happening, that means you're completely aware. 2. Why do you throw perfectly good food in the trash? So food is perfectly good, it means it's absolutely good. There's nothing wrong with it. Third and last. She is perfectly capable of choosing which university she will study at herself. Okay, we are now ready for our final word of the episode. This word happens to be a word I really like. It is 1865, enhance. E-N-H-A-N-C-E. Enhance. It has just one meaning, as a verb. It is to improve something that was already good. So if you can improve something that was not very good, did you enhance it? Well, no, not really. You can only enhance things that are already good. This is a C1 or so meaning. 3 examples. 1. Many athletes take drugs to enhance their performance. 2. I'm not sure if those pills they sell on TV really enhance your memory. Third and last. This book helps you enhance your understanding of words that you already know and teaches you new ones too. Okay, so I hope that this episode has enhanced your understanding and use of English vocabulary. Thank you so much for listening, and until next Monday.